This year's Millionaire Lottery offers 10 incredible grand prize options, including 9 homes, 2.7 million tax-free cash. Get your tickets, millionairelottery.com. Joined now by our Tuesday regular from the Province and Post Media, Mr. Patrick Johnston, who's off on the road trip with these Canucks. How you doing, fella?
I'm good. Very excited to go out in the rain and trek to the airport. And I'm excited. It'll be good. Denver, Vegas.
More importantly, do you know where you're watching Canada play tomorrow? Will they have it in the Denver hotel room, or are you going to have to go out and find it over breakfast somewhere?
Well, Matthew, it is also going to be noon, which means it'll be during the Canucks morning's game.
Right.
I will get creative and figure things out. I'll have to do my job, but I'll figure it out. The more important thing is that I realize Sunday's game is at 8 a.m., of course, Pacific time in Vegas, and I rebooked my flight to later on Sunday to go so I can watch the game.
You going to make it to San Jose in time?
Attaboy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you fly to SFO, but this is boring and uninteresting.
No, let's get on to something that is interesting. You wrote your piece on Saturday was quite interesting, as a matter of fact, where well, first of all, the quotes from Boudreaux were interesting. You know, I'm still here living. Not my call a couple of times, PJ. So we're seeing the lines of demarcation drawn. We're seeing the encampments set up. But let me start with the tweet about that someone asterisk was in town. What are you hearing?
I mean, the meetings continue.
Meetings with whom?
Well, management that they could. Well, with whom?
Management meeting amongst themselves, or management meeting with
Matthew?
outsiders?
I do not know that part. There was someone here. I don't know whether it was coach or another assistant. People said what else. I don't know. As far as I can tell, there was some sort of meeting. People were all abuzz that it was Rick Tocchet. I think everyone around that seems to insist it was not Rick Tocchet. But there was something going on, Friday. And then, I think my understanding is there was at least one more meeting amongst management over the weekend, I guess, to figure out what chart they're, or what course they're charting. Jim Rutherford himself has said, essentially, let's look at American Thanksgiving. So here we are this week. And as he said, if they can go on a 5-game run, okay, maybe they're in a discussion, but even then, is this team good enough to sustain that? So
the run might have been at hand.
There's change they would like to make, I think, but they're not rushing into it. And
the view we had of the GM's box yesterday and Jim Rutherford going for the walk after what was ultimately a disallowed goal, but that 5-4 lead would be restored, of course. Yeah. To me, that says something. I mean, do guys get upset? Other times they do. But that was a resigned, I don't know, I read a lot into that little walk that Jim Rutherford went on.
Yeah, and, as I wrote, there's this disconnect now. It's obvious if you hadn't noticed, but it's clear, and as you noted, Matt, the quotes from Bruce. I mean, the 2 days in a row making jokes as he steps to the mic, from his side of things, like I wrote, this is a man alone. And, waiting for what I think he thinks is going to come to him, which is that he's not going to be here. But he keeps pressing on doing his job with sort of no real relationship with the people in charge who, I think, there's noise obviously coming out that maybe there was discussion about a Myers trade to Ottawa to create some cap space, I guess. Because Nikita Zaitsev obviously is not anything anymore. I mean, I don't know if he ever was anything as a defenseman, but here's a player that Ottawa was happy to get away from, Toronto was happy to get away from. So, it's a lot of spinning of wheels, but I in many ways, I think they're kind of stuck. Like making that commitment to Miller tied them so inherently to that direction, which is, I think in the end we can see now is the wrong direction. For all the offensive talents of the player, this is not a two-way top line dynamo. It's a team that's badly constructed. has issues to now unwind that are really hard to unwind. If you're the Myers for Zaitsev kind of notion is the kind of trade you're looking at with that kind of deal, because in the end, it's a contract that you don't want to retain anything on, because whatever you get back, I mean, you're obviously you're hoping to win the trade. Every trade you make, you hope to win. But whatever you get back, if you retain salary, it's that plus the retention, right? It's not a situation where you're going to be like, well, we got the best player and it's not a big deal that we still have $2 million on the cap. That was the problem when they showed up. There was all this dead money. They don't want to have dead money, which you can understand why. But they're stuck with OEL, they're stuck with Myers, and then they committed to Miller, and it's created a very, very, very narrow line for them to walk. And as a result, we have this sort of team chaos notion and a team that's flawed, and as we saw last night, can't defend on the inside, and that's just not a team that's going to go anywhere.
It's Doug Weight. It's Doug Weight and the Islanders. Remember Matthew Barzal's crazy rookie season and all that scoring, and they couldn't win a game. That's what this is right now.
Yeah. Although I do think Bruce, as he said yesterday, is trying to work on defense. Let's just rewind for a second. Last Tuesday we had you on. We asked you, Patrick, is there still any playoff hope? You said they have to go on a run. They get that game last night. We're talking about a potential run. Now, very difficult schedule coming up, Colorado, Vegas, and then the quick turnaround in San Jose. But we'd be talking about 3 in a row, and as Patterson notes, they're the highest scoring team in the NHL over the last month. Like, goals are not a problem here. And you do think the goaltender at some point is going to get better. Getting back to whatever meetings they had on Friday, what do you think is more likely? They have the permanent replacement coach ready to go, or Mike Yeo takes over on an interim basis?
I think it would be the Mike Yeo option.
For rest of season, or until permanent coach is hired at some point in season?
Well, I mean, if you can find someone in season, sure. But
well, Tocchet is available. That's why I asked, right? Like, more often than not, you want to see who's available at the end of the year, right? Who shakes free and all of that. But, Tocchet, there may be a race to Tocchet, if you will, but if other guys like Tocchet.
But as we've heard already, and it's already been leaked through other people, like Rick Tocchet isn't wild about this. He isn't wild about taking over this team right now in the middle of the season with no chance to make the playoffs.
Just the check's big enough. Tocchet.
Well, of course, but
so there you go.
Well,
you overpay a coach? No,
it's not our money.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
but if you're asking to make a prediction, do you think this guy is going to make Rick Tocchet the highest paid coach in the National Hockey League? No. Why would you?
Here's the context that I think a lot about, because there's been a lot of noise about, say, hey, maybe Andrew Brunette. But, Andrew Brunette was here with New Jersey, right? He will have had some sense of how things are going here. Not just from looking at, from the outside or talking to people he might know. It's about seeing what he saw, and the renovations in the dressing rooms are still ongoing. Like at the end, at the visiting end of what used to be the hallway that ran between, but essentially now part of the team spaces, but also has a curtain to allow access to the front end of the dressing room, which is a new room, by the way. The old visitors' dressing room is essentially a construction tool equipment room. And the coaching room that was built for them has been, the visiting coaches are no longer in the room that was originally assigned to them. And I guess the feeling was too close. I mean, my guess is that it was too close to the visitor room. Now they're across the hall. Like, there's just a lot of chaos physically in that building still. So, I wonder how much that chatter is going around the league, that there's just a lot going on. There's sort of the emotional chaos, and then there's just a ongoing renovation process in season, which I'm sure catches a lot of hockey people off guard.
Yeah, so it's unsettling. It's unsettling everywhere.
It is, and I just that's the thing that keeps sticking with me, is that there's a lot of challenging things going on here. A lot of frustration. We can understand why. You play to win, you're not winning. But there's just all these things around the edges. And absolutely, there's only 32 head coaching jobs in the NHL, and that will override a lot. Mm-hmm. But, this is not, yeah, sure, you back up the truck, but is this an organization that's going to back up the truck?
Probably not. But I'm not sure he's a coach that you need to back up the truck. Like, what
No.
the hell has he ever won as a coach? So,
No.
Talking?
yeah.
Well, nothing, but he's in a very solid job right now. He doesn't, he's not an unemployed coach on the sidelines.
No, I understand that.
He's being paid a lot of money
so
right now.
Do TV. So then do TV.
Yeah.
Here's the offer. If you don't like it, do TV. They'll move on.
And there will be other. There probably will be other opportunities for a guy like him. Like, it's not like he has one chance and he's gone, right? There are obviously other coaches floating around, like Travis Green and others who like to get back into the game. But there are guys. You just look at. I don't know. Look at John Hines. Like, there's guys around the league that have gone away and come back. Mike Yeo had 3 kicks at the can, right? It's not like you have to do it right away.
I think Rick Tocchet can be picky. I don't think he's desperate for this job. I think he knows that other people will come calling. In the meantime, he'll collect his check, playing. In the meantime, though, on the ice right now, PJ, the Canucks are being entirely inefficient in their use of prime years of their players, though. Right, so all of this is happening, all of this distraction, and they're just wasting Elias Pettersson, who has found his game again. They're wasting a special year for Bo Horvat, who is not. This is not a streak anymore for Bo Horvat. This looks to be just his season. Because once you've done it for 2 months in a row, that's not a hot streak anymore. That's just your season. Now, I'm not saying he's scoring 64. I'm not saying the pace will be exactly this, but it's not like this is a 2-week heater. They're wasting a lot here. Even Quinn Hughes, despite no goals, my goodness, he's creating a lot of stuff out there. It just seems so wasteful.
By the way, taking 64 goals, you're just taking the Rob Williams stance that .73 is not a goal.
Yes, yeah.
No, and this was a point. I mean, a shout out to my rival Thomas Drance, who pointed exactly the same thing out. That listen, look how great these 3 players are playing, and like this should be it right now. And this is my point. This should be the window, and it's not. Because there's it's not just about the current management group. There were a lot of bad decisions made. There were a lot of bad bets made. It was, but here we are. And there was sort of the bets were also made consistently in the last regime because there was a belief that, we can unwind it if it doesn't work. We can trade Jay Beagle at the end of his contract or whatever. And yeah, they did, but then they made a different bet, and that's just not working out. It's a big logjam in Oliver Ekman-Larsson. It's just this endless, never-ending circling of the drain and trying to avoid sinking, and it's the no plan stuff from Ray from way back. Like, it's just this endless trying to effort not to drown, and it's exhausting.
Yep.
This is what we're dealing with,
and we're not even playing, guys.
No,
It's
exactly.
exhausting.
Emotionally, she doesn't even watch anymore. She just sits in the other room, and I update her on score. And so I go 4-2 Canucks. She goes, uh-oh. Sure enough.
I kept on getting told to shush last night because I was going, you're kidding me. Another goal? I couldn't believe it.
I mean, let's be clear. This is a high-octane environment. Like, the scoring's up around the NHL in general, right? Defensive mistakes are happening everywhere. But just the persistence of the fact that, I think it was 4 of the 5 goals. I went and rewatched them this morning just to make sure I had it square. 4 of the 5 goals were literally Canucks getting basically boxed out in front of their own net. And it's things like that. And it is, the other thing of it, just by the way, on Horvat, you mentioned that before. Like, Horvat was one of the guys who got boxed out. It's unfortunate. It shouldn't have to come down to that, but, he gets the goal, another great goal, another quick release. I've written essentially 2 stories about him scoring. The way he's scoring. Frank Corrado's been super insightful and helpful in talking about that. A guy who's learned space, who's been working a bit with Adam Oates. He's just he's trying to make himself better. It's all the stuff I thought back again. Like, I actually messaged Ray. You guys had Ray on Friday, and Ray talked about making yourself better. And, that's something that Horvat offensively has done a great job. He's really gotten better at doing that. But overall, in the end, that ethos for most of these players doesn't seem to be there. And the thing that stands out to me comes back to that defensive thing. And they're just, I don't get... I know it's a hard thing to figure out and think about positioning and all these things, but we just see it so often with this team, how careless, how thoughtless defensively it is. And it's just, I don't get it. For all the other work they're doing, all the improvements they've made, the fact that they keep making the same problems. Thatcher Demko was really great against the Kings, and part of that was because his team in front of him took away the pass through the middle. And then, obviously Vegas is one of the strongest teams in the league, but just to be completely, utterly annihilated in front of your own net. I mean, it comes back. It's exhausting. It's just like
it sure is. Well, and as Horvat pointed out, you get an incredible break like that with the camera lens. They take a goal off, and then the fifth is so effortless against you, right? Like that is just such an easy street goal for the win on the road. Can't happen, buddy. Thank you for this. Very noble of you to shout out Thomas Drance on really something that I don't believe required any kind of reporter citation. That all said, Bo Horvat using new sticks, that did require reporter citation. I regret to inform somebody in the Go-Goat Sports studio cited the wrong reporter on that, and we put him on E's and O's, and we restored your honor, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
New sticks, new approaches. That's what I'm trying to identify. Let's go. All right. Thanks, boys.
Thanks, Peach.